me. Okay, it was an old roommate that I had. I was already getting into the sport of bodybuilding, and he was like, "Bro, I have the perfect nickname for you." I was like, "What is it?" He was like, "The Gift." I was like, "Seriously? You couldn't have picked a better name than this? Like, everybody's gonna be like, this guy's conceited, he's arrogant, he's cocky, this and that and the other." He was like, "No, no, no, no. Think deeper. You're a former Division I athlete. You're intelligent. You're college educated. You have a great physique, and you know how to speak to those audiences. No one's ever seen this." And I was like, "Yeah, man, but I'm not even pro yet." He goes, "Doesn't matter." He's like, "I've been around," because he had competed before, and he's actually from Cyprus. So I feel like him being European and seeing more bodybuilders over there, just in that area, because of bodybuilding being a much bigger sport overseas than it is here in the States, he just saw talent. And he was like, "This is you, and your gift is to give." And then I was like, that's what I'm going to use it as. Allow people to form their own opinion initially, but that's based on their own stuff. Even like me, I was like, "Oh yeah, I think it's this," when really it's not. It's about what I can give to you. A gift is something I can give to you. So then you do what? You have happiness, you have joy, you have peace. And I use that. I use the gifts that I have. And obviously in bodybuilding, did some incredible things. But it was about how I got there, so then I can help other people get to their, champion podium, to go through their levels of adversity, to create better moments of triumph. And I love the nickname because I feel like we all have a gift. You have one, I have one, everyone has one. But we have to face those fears as well and understand that we're only as good as the test. Are we truly battle tested? So it's like, what makes a person so smart? What makes a person, we always see like, oh, well, Shaquille O'Neal hit a lot of free throws by himself. But when the lights are on, maybe not as much, right? So you can't say like, oh yeah, this guy, he's so badass. It's like, nah, man, that gift is only as good as it's been tested and it's been forged and fortified over and over and over again. So for me, it takes on a greater meaning than just like, oh yeah, he thinks he's God's gift to this. It's like, well, no, I can be if I pour into myself and be willing to pour into others.
So 17 years old, you do this interview and somebody asks you whether or not you're going to make it into the NBA. You said, "I don't know about the NBA.
You saw
but I know that I'm going to be pro at something."
Yeah.
Where, at the age of 17, playing basketball as a 5'9", 180-pound guy.
Yeah, man.
Where do you get the self-belief from that you knew? Because you, despite people's assumptions, and I really want to get into this, it's not like you came from some privileged background.
Right.
It's not like you had things, whatever the opposite of a silver platter is.
Right.
It was kind of that scenario.
Yeah.
How do you develop self-belief at an age where you only have minimal evidence that something's going to come of it?
Well, understanding who is pouring into you. Mom, stepfather, even my father poured into me. The coaches that I had poured into me. I had friends that were highly competitive that, forced me, and that's a key word, is competitive nature. Like I said, I grew up in Seattle, Washington, so you got to think, at that time, I was born in 79, so just in my neighborhood, we had guys that are now pros in something. I was neighbors with Nate and Kevin Burleson. I was neighbors to Nate Robinson, to Jamal Crawford, to Jason Terry, to, all these different athletes, right? And we talk about just guys that you may recognize. What about the other ones that didn't make it? So my whole journey was about finding who I am and not being afraid to be who I am, who I'm supposed to be, and having that killer instinct. So I had a coach by the name of Mike Medea, and he's still at my high school to this day. And he was probably the Bobby Knight of basketball back then in high school sports. So like, we'll yell at you, we'll curse at you, we'll damn near hit you upside the head, right? Totally different than what we can get away with today. But you know what it was? He just wanted to pull it out of you. Like, like some people can really see something within you, and they know that you're being really timid, and they can't whip you, but they want to like shake you. It's like the coach that grabs the face mask of the guy and says, "You can do this," but I gotta yell at it. I'm losing my mind here. You're messing up, and I know you can succeed. So, at that given point in time, I got the opportunity to get a Division I scholarship to the University of Denver, signed that letter of intent, and then I was interviewed by the Seattle Times, and something just came over me of like, okay, you already beat the odds. You're 5'9", and I was actually 155 pounds at the time, but I already beat these odds. I was a guy that was already dunking a basketball. I was already running a 4.34. You know, I was a state, 100-meter track athlete. You know, like, I already defeated a lot of odds. Like, but I had to be real. And growing up in Seattle, you understand like what else is around you. So like, you have basketball, but you also have Microsoft. You're seeing more millionaires come out of Microsoft than there are in the NBA. So I guess just through repetition in my mind of always having something to carry you beyond athletics with academics and stuff. Because that's my parents, they always forced that on me. Always have something to fall back on, right? Still to this day, when I hear this, I'm like, man, that was prophetic. That was not from me, man. That was from source above. It's like, you're telling the truth. May not be pro in basketball, but you're definitely going to be pro at something. And I became that.
So I think a lot of people hearing that, plus the gift as the nickname, plus this illustrious career of 7 Olympia wins and everything else that you've achieved, would presume, okay, this guy, even if not everything was handed to him, psychologically he had all of the tools ready from the beginning, from before the beginning, to be able to do this. Can you take me through the day of your first show and what it felt like to step out on stage?
Oh, well, the night before I asked all my teammates that still living in the basketball house to not bring the party back to the house. Of course they did. So about 2 in the morning, I'm over here being awakened because I'm living in the basement, right? And I've forgiven them. But, I have to be realistic. They were going to do it anyway, right? College girls, red cups, it's just loud music. But then realizing I'm in it. I did all the work, removed myself from this situation, go to your car, which is parked in the garage, sleep in there. You still have a car, you can still sleep in there. Woke up, and my friend Josh Crandall picked me up and drove me to Boulder, and I'm literally telling him, if I don't win this damn thing, man, I don't know if I can do this again, because so much work for someone that could tarnish this. It's not like basketball games, like where you can go out, you can drink, you can party and all this instead of playing the game. Bodybuilding, no way. And I learned firsthand, right? So going in that first competition, walking in there's a couple things. Of course, I'm already tired from last night. And then also realizing that I don't really know what I don't know. So I just because I watched a bodybuilding show in person and on a VHS tape, watching Ronnie Coleman win the 98 Olympia, it's different when you're there signing up, putting your name on there, buying your NPC card, and all this other stuff. And now what are you going to do? You're not looking at yourself, you're looking at everybody else. With you looking at everybody else, you forget who you are. So much that I'm like, whoa, this guy, he's got all these muscles and he's vascular and this and that and the other. Looks like he's on PEDs or something. My friend goes, he is. And I'm like, what? I'm not. Like, why didn't you tell me this? He's like, man, you asshole. Like, what's going on? And he goes, you would have never done it if I would have told you that you were going against people like this. I was like, what? And he was like, just be chill, man. You look great. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. So, of course, I was leading with a lot of anxiety and whatnot. So, as I was walking on that stage, I thought, I need to dress myself with a cloak of, like, armor, like, of, like, strength. So that's when I was like, walking out like this, like the Terminator. That's what I was thinking, like, just walk out like the Terminator, like, be strong, be this. When really I was just looking like an idiot. But I was looking like a guy that was totally insecure. And that false bravado was definitely on stage. And everybody started laughing. But now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so exposed that they can see the false bravado too. Oh man, what's going on? It was the fact that they had seen everybody else, and I'm gonna win this whole damn show. But I don't know that. So I'm paying attention to the negative beliefs more than the actual reality that I've done the work. I'm gonna win this thing, and now it's time to own all of it. So So it wasn't until the point by a lady that yelled out, "Smile, you're beautiful," that I realized, like, oh wow, okay, now I can be in my own. So I did the novice and the open, so then I could get more practice, because I recognized that if you only do one category, you're up there for, it feels like an eternity, but you're only up there for like a minute and then you're gone. I did, the open, I did the novice and the open, so it all worked out. But after that prejudging, I was like, holy smokes, like, how exhilarating is this? So then coming back, then I had like more of a smile, and I'm like,
swagger.
yes, now I get to take the swagger from basketball, transfer that into bodybuilding, all in my first show. And I won that whole damn show, man. I beat them all down. And what was really cool was that was the same evening that I met Jay Cutler, as he was in his pursuit of becoming Mr. Olympia. So I remember taking a picture with him backstage. I was like, so hey man, what do you weigh? He's like, I'm 290. And I was like, well, I'm 190. Now what? So we, I'm sure you probably have seen the photo with he and I, and that's how that came about.
So the lesson I love from this is there's a little bit of a juxtaposition going on here, which on one hand, massive capacity, massive capability, self-belief, but also crippling insufficiency. And that, from somebody that's won all of the world championships, that's so well known, millions of followers, inspired lots of people, I think it's so important for normal people who, as of yet, haven't fulfilled the dreams that they want to be able to understand just how visceral the fear and the embarrassment and the shame and the uncertainty of any glory at all,
right.
And like the fact that it took some little lady in the crowd to shout, "Smile, you're beautiful," to give you the license to believe in work that you'd already done.
Right.
I think there's so much. That's as inspiring of a story as winning the Olympia 7 times, I think, because with the future, knowing where you were going to go, but seeing the lack of self-belief, it gives people who right now do not have that degree of self-belief.
Right.
The YouTube Music app has the power to sense what you like from the moment you open the app. It's almost like it could read your mind. That's what I was going to say. Get YouTube Music Premium. Try 1 month free of charge.
Oh, well, doesn't matter. Like, even the guy that was supposed to be the gift, he steps out on stage in these tiny pants and he can't believe that he's going to do it, and his lady has to bring him out of his own head.
Yes.
I can do it.
Yes. We all need hope. We all need to, in my opinion, know thyself.
My friend's got that tattooed on his back. He says he always wants Socrates behind him.
Yeah, you have to. You have to be in that pursuit of knowing yourself. Play video games at all?
Yeah, a little bit.
Mortal Kombat? Have you ever played that back in the day? As you go up the levels, what do you face?
Harder
Yourself.
opponents. Oh. Yes.
Remember?
Yes.
You have to fight yourself. So to beat the character, you're beating yourself. So that means you have to know everything about you to be better than you.
Well, ultimately, the most difficult enemy that you're going to encounter is going to be yourself.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time, I got this story about Winston Churchill. So, Churchill is showing a young MP around the Houses of Parliament. And this young MP, here's the bathrooms, and this is where we go for lunch, and this is whatever, right? Imagine Churchill sort of bloviating around. Anyway, gets down into the House of Lords, and you've got the benches, but the distance between the two benches is the distance of two broadswords held out at arm's length, for precisely the reason that they don't want to do it. And anyway, this young guy who's probably full of himself, full of testosterone, comes in and he starts gesturing at the other side, the other benches, and starts referring to them as the enemy. Churchill turns to him and he says, "That's the opposition, dear boy. The enemy is behind you." And this isn't literally what he meant, but figuratively, I think what he means is that your own worst enemy is always the one that is playing on your team. The person that's inside of your head knows your weaknesses. They know all of the buttons to push that you wouldn't dare say to even your worst enemy. And you will consistently deploy that to you when you've tried your hardest, when you had noble intentions and fell short despite it not being your fault.
and you are able to treat yourself like the worst piece of shit in a way that nobody else would, and if they did, they would be out of your life in a moment. So I think that, yes, seeing yourself as both your greatest potential fan and supporter, and also your worst potential enemy.
Well, you have to thousands and thousands of years of DNA stored within us. So some of those stories aren't yours. It could be your parents, it could be grandparents, uncle, something, right? Expose those lies, man. I've learned now, growing up, that okay, I am good enough. Why am I talking down to myself? Don't I want a championship moment? Don't I deserve that? And all I have to do is give myself permission to be me. And yeah, I may fail. But what drives me is that a lot of the time we're always, oh, what's my calling? And even in that moment on that stage, right? Where I still remember the lady's name. Her name was Margaret. She gave me permission to be me. Where are we giving ourselves permission to be our best version of self? You have to give yourself permission every day. You just woke up every day and then first of all, you didn't even thank your body for putting up with your ass. So I should give myself permission and almost declare it every day. Like I declare that I'm gonna go out here and make a difference in my life. I declare that I'm gonna go do this cardio that I freaking don't like. I declare that I'm gonna eat better. I declare that I'm actually going to look at my wife in the eye and tell her something sweet. Pick up the kids, pet the dog, whatever. Say hello to that one employee that, you know what, typically don't really like them. But today, I'm gonna do something different because I'm gonna change the pattern. I'm gonna change the pattern. I'm gonna make it work for me because this life is worth living. So I give myself permission to be great. And I think what happens is by giving yourself permission, other people see that and they get frustrated. So like, how did he figure it out? So all I did was answer the call to my own greatness. Your ass is still wondering where the call is coming from. It's already there. Just pick up the phone and say, I accept. When you don't accept that call, it then goes to somebody else. Someone else got, hey, who's going to pick up that phone? I'm going to get that? Well, it's for you, Phil. No, oh shit, it's for me. If I don't pick it up in time, the way this works, it's going to go to somebody else. And then they're going to get the championship moment. And you and I both have seen this, whether it can happen in our lives or someone else's life, when they don't pick it up. If you don't pick it up, oh shit, that's when you don't get the girl. You don't get the date for prom that you really wanted. You settled for something else because of your indecisiveness, because of your fear. You didn't get the job, you didn't go to the school, you didn't get anything that you really wanted. And now the person that had half as much as the talent as you, that just took a risk on themselves and gave themselves permission to succeed, and if they fail, so what? You're hating on them. You're talking shit about them. You're saying, oh yeah, it must be nice. Must be nice you get to go on the vacations. Why does he have to, oh, he's a kiss ass. He's this, he's that. No, dummy. It was you and your inability to execute. So by me seeing that in myself and being a wuss, I had to eliminate that shit right away. Because I recognized in certain areas of my life where I did stand up and say, I'm gonna do this, what was the outcome? I killed it. If I go up to the squat rack and I see 450 pounds, whatever it is, I've already lost. I have to go into it knowing that I should win because I've trained for this. Now I haven't trained for that. There's danger. There's extreme danger with this. And I shouldn't do it. But if I train for this, I should know that, yep, it's heavy, it's gonna be heavy, but I'm gonna take it for a ride. Ready? And when I pound that chest, oh, I'm ready. And it's me reminding myself who the hell I am. And that way I can then, and only then, impose my will onto someone else. You can't impose your will on someone else if you don't know who the hell you are. And that's what makes Michael Phelps slapping the freaking water to the Usain Bolt. You know that it's all effective shit. Michael Jordan, the only guy to ever have his tongue out while he's driving to the basket and dunk on your face. To fly to the Bo Jacksons that, man, I mean, if that guy never got hurt, but did so much breaking bats. This guy was like a demigod and was never afraid of being who he was. So that's why I always admire those people that believe in themselves. You're telling me that they didn't have moments where they're having that tactical minefield in their head, like saying, "You can't do this, Phil. Come on, man. You don't know anything. Oh, you want to be an entrepreneur? You want to run a business? You don't know that. No shit, dude. It's not like I didn't know anything when I picked up a basketball the first time, or played the piano, or played the freaking Nintendo game. I didn't know, but I had passion behind it. I was curious about it, and I put effort into it, and I was passionately present with others, so that I could yield some good wins and." I can easily say I've had more wins than losses, and I'd say more than 95% of those wins come from extreme competitive nature derived by positive belief. Like, you could not be around me at the Olympia and say, "Hey, Phil, you think you're going to win this year? Get the fuck out of here. Why are you even still standing here?" You would not ask a mother that is getting ready to give birth, "Hey, you ready to..." What are we talking about? So, a lot of people can only understand so much of this, right? But in their own lives, I think this is the most relatable thing. Being in relation to, like, obviously I would tell myself, "Phil, you're so misunderstood because of what you achieved and this and that." Well, now I recognize it's about what's in here and what's in here that I can give. And this is part of this conversation, is that you have to give yourself extreme permission to just learn and be curious and ask questions and say, "Man, I don't know, man. Chris, can you you've been podcasting, you've been doing all these episodes. I'm just getting started. Like, what do you think the 3 things that I should be doing right now? Do you see anything in me? Because I believe that these are my qualities. And do you think those qualities can be applicable into this?" And just sitting back and shutting the hell up and letting people speak, right?
In other news, this episode is brought to you by Element. Element is a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything that you need and nothing that you don't. It's a healthy alternative to sugary electrolyte drinks, and it is the best way that I've started my morning every single day for over 3 years now. It contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio of sodium, potassium, and magnesium, with no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, or any other junk. Your adenosine system, caffeine acts on, isn't active for the first 90 minutes of the day. What your adrenal system is, salt acts on your adrenal system. So if you want to be more awake, want to regulate your appetite, curb cravings, and have better brain health, this is the way to start your day. Head to drinklmnt.com/modernwisdom to get a free sample pack of all 8 flavors with your first box. Plus, there is a no BS, no questions asked refund policy, so you can buy it 100% risk-free. That's drinklmnt.com/modernwisdom. There's something came up when you were talking about your coach that perhaps from a bygone era would have grabbed you by the scruff of the neck and told you to do that.
Yeah.
Quote from a friend who I was with yesterday says, "Cry to someone who pities you rather than believes in you." And it makes me treating self-love or believing that self-love is holding yourself to a higher standard than anybody else is such a beautiful reframe of saying, okay, what do you want? Like, what do you want in this moment? Like, things are hard. The diet is difficult. This business you're trying to get off the ground, the job that you're trying to go for, it's not happening. What do you want? Do you want sympathy? Or do you want me to have higher standards for you than you do?
Thank you.
Do you want me to hold you to higher standards than you do? Because I believe in you. Why do you think I'm holding you to high standards? Do you want me to hold you to low standards?
YouTube Ads is made for your business. Bring your brand to life with targeted video ads and connect with the perfect audience. Grow your business and reach your people with YouTube Ads.
Standards?
And they wonder why they were getting yelled at by their teachers. Getting the calls
See
home.
something in you.
I used to get calls home from the teachers, right? Once a quarter. It was like clockwork. Phil was being disruptive. I was probably being disruptive because I had to explain this to my mom. I was like, I'm being disruptive probably because I'm getting my work done first. Because I'm like wanting to get this done first so I can be left alone. But then I like turn around and I'm like, hey, what's up? What's going on? You know what I mean? And I get caught. But then I remember on more than one occasion, we'd get the call and my parents would sit me down and just, they ground you. So the parents sit me down and they ground me, right? You said you wouldn't do this anymore. We got punishment, no Nintendo, no this, you can't go out with your friends, whatever it is. I go up to the teacher and I'm like seeking retribution, man. I'm like, hey, and why'd you call my parents, man? You know what I mean? Like, not that I can threaten an adult, but I'm like, but Timmy over here is, throwing pencils and paper and this and that and the other. And I remember this happening on more. You got a 3.8. Why didn't you get a? You got a 3.8. Why didn't you get a 4.0? Come on, mom. And it's like, no, but why not? Why can't you? And why can't you do it for just more than one quarter? Why can't you do it for more than one semester? Why can't you do it forever?
Because we know that you can.
Right. Well, you've already proven it. If you can sit there and play video games for 3 hours, you can read a book for 3 hours.
So this is something that I think is really important to drive home. The better that you get, the better that you realize that you can become. And in that way, the more that you work, the more painfully you become aware of your deficiencies.
Right.
And I think this is anybody that feels like they have potential. The real pain in life is getting to the end of it and realizing that you left something on the table. I think that I had unfulfilled potential. I could have done more, and I didn't.
Right.
So, in some regards, having a high potential is a blessing and a curse, because the standard has now been set, or at least the ceiling has now been set, and it's a case of, okay, how close of that are you going to get? And that's high. That's really, really high ceiling. That causes discomfort in people.
At some point, for me, I had to realize there is none. And I'm the one that said there's no ceiling. But with that comes with the unknown, and now you have to do the real work, right? So let's just say, winning my first Olympia in 2011, you see all those Y's in the road, and you're like, oh shit, like I did all this stuff, and now it all makes sense. All those things got me to this moment right here. Okay. But next week, I got 3 days of photo shoots, and I got to get on a flight to India to go compete against the same people that I just beat. The last thing I need is to let off the gas and give these guys an opportunity to knock me off. Because theoretically, they say, oh man, Phil got lucky at the Olympia. Now I got to solidify the win. So how many people think of life like that, of saying, I need to solidify this win? If I was salesman of the quarter, why not of the year? And if I wasn't last year, why not this year? And it just goes into that you gamify your own process. You can't expect everybody to care about your successes more than you. But a lot of the time it happens because you see, your parents see potential, coaches, teachers.
Especially in the beginning when you don't have the self-belief.
Right. So at some point you have to remove that and say, well, I get that and I appreciate that. How about I prove myself right for once? Well, what does that mean? Well, let me just dream. And let's visualize all of it. Let's visualize what abundance really is. And realize that there's a pain tolerance involved. But how do I handle that pain?
Talk to me about your relationship with pain.
Well, my relationship with pain, man, we don't have enough hours, but I can give you an example of how I deal with it. Well, you can easily super hyper focus, like going to the gym. Let's say, breakups make great bodybuilders, those type of things, right? We already know that. But I'll give you one for instance. I've shared this story, you probably already know it. But, a few years back, like 8 years ago, or 9 years ago, I was actually guest posing in Cleveland, Ohio for Dave Lieberman. Did a great event, I'm posing, I'm having fun, having a great speech. Can't remember everything, but I remember getting a standing ovation. It was very rare. People this is awesome what he was saying and pouring into us. Then I get in a limo to go back to the hotel where I rinse all the tanning off, and then I go do a meet and greet with 100 people inside of a restaurant. I found out that my father had passed away. And I had the phone on speaker, and the driver's like, Mr. Heath, and I said, just slow it down a little bit. Slow down the drive, if you don't mind. So I get to the room, and I'm like, no tears. Does that make me callous? I'm trying to process this. It's like, well, you already knew that your dad was sick, so it should come with no surprise. It's upsetting. Opening up the laptop and going on Facebook, and then realizing that that's not the way of handling things, because that's how everyone else handles things, and you're not them. And you're not giving yourself a time period of digesting what just happened. That doesn't mean that you're going to burst out in tears. That doesn't mean you're going to yell. But I gave myself permission. I felt like, I need to give myself some time to kind of just sit with this. and ask myself, what does this mean? You know what I got? It's like John C. Maxwell talks about the whisper when you're in silence. You get a whisper. It's usually from above, right? Or your consciousness, like something that voice in your head, you get a whisper. It says, go to work. You got work to do. And that sounds like my father, right? So I'm like, okay. And so I go in the shower, I get everything ready, and all I did was do a nice gesture. I called up my best friend, put him on FaceTime, and your friends kind of know you. So I did it. He was like, no. And I was like, yep. Shot of tequila, please. Cheers to my pops. That's that. Right now, the promoters heard what was going on. They gave me every opportunity to just walk back to the hotel room, get a meal set up, and call it a night, get on the next flight home. I said, no, I'm good. I just needed this moment. Just make sure there's no pictures, just me and my boy were just talking. And I did that, and I did my job. Because guess what? I'm not the first person to go through this. And I look at it as a badge of honor of how I handle things in battle-tested moments. So I never was in the military, but I always think of that. People that get those stars, those badges and stuff, they had to go through something. This is my opportunity to say, you know what? I went through this. And now I can help somebody else go through theirs. Could you imagine going through these things? So you're talking about pain? Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I was upset. There was no time for that. What I've learned is you have to still give your body, mind, and spirit an opportunity to let those feelings come. And you can't always push them underneath. And I did that throughout a lot of my career, so I do understand pain. Death with my father, his wife passed 2 years later. Now I got my half-brother, high-functioning autistic, perfectly fine as far as his scholastic achievement is concerned. Super hyper-focused, and I graduated high school at 15, Phi Theta Kappa at 16. But now do I have to change my why to make sure that he's taken care of financially, right? Dealing with a divorce at the same time, of running a business that's crumbling, having the ridicule go online because now I'm the Tom Brady of bodybuilding, realizing also that I'm now chasing, the Jay Cutlers, the Dorians, and now Arnolds of Olympia Championships, and saying, why am I doing this? And having the pain of just the physical torture that I had to put myself through. And I put myself through it on purpose because I knew in the end, it'd all be worth it. So I say my pain tolerance, I think, is very, very high. I went through divorce, death, business, ridicule publicly. Those are all relatable things. But I did it all while still kicking a lot of freaking ass on the Olympia stage. And that made me more powerful on that Olympia stage. So when I walk out, I'm like, you guys have not gone through this. I know your life, right? Because on social media, we all kind of share a lot. And some people overshare. So now I really know what's going on with you. I'm like, oh, you haven't gone through this, therefore you didn't have to do some self-work. You have some of these guys had a perfect life, right? I'm like, man, you didn't have these struggles and shit. You can't even diet. You can't even train. You have a whole entourage picking up your weights and stuff. I train by myself 99% of the time. Well, I know who I am. Like how Dorian Yates would say, they could never out-train me, that's why they couldn't beat me. I felt the same way. I out-prepared them. I out-motivated myself. When I'm looking at myself in the mirror, I'm like, yeah, you're here. You're here to work. And you're gonna get this job done. And I call myself MFer a million, probably a zillion times. Because I also knew what legacy really means. What legacy really means is when you're in the dirt or in some mausoleum or whatever, people have some incredible things to say about you because of what you, not just won, but what you provided them. And they knew that even the biggest hater is actually one of your greatest soundboards when you're gone because of what you did. So when I decided to not compete, those biggest haters that were just they weren't driving me insane. I actually enjoyed it. They were the ones that said, man, I wish he came back because I don't see the level of competitiveness in this sport ever again. And man, I wish I could have appreciated him. And I look at that and I say, that's life. Sometimes we don't appreciate it until it's gone, but it's really cool to know that those people that just despised your greatness really embraced your greatness in all essence. Because it was a reminder, Phil, he's coming to Olympia, there's a standard. Let's say I came back next year, not this creating me, right?
Careful. the internet's list.
Right, it's gonna, yeah. But let's just say I did, or did the Arnold Classic or something like that. People would get excited. And some people say, oh, we can't do this and that. But then there's gonna be a large majority that says, but what if he did? What if he isn't hurt? What if he isn't this? What if he is who he is?
On your own time.
He is. You say, well, it's over. It's not just like, oh, he has a chance. It's like, no, it's freaking over. And that was because of the standards that I created for a long stretch of time. It was not luck. And that's why I loved speaking, public speaking, talking to different corporations, and talking to C-suite executives about stamina, which is a word that is never used, whether it be in business or in athletics. It's very rarely used. How often do you hear the word stamina? They don't. They talk about peak performance, but peak performance just goes shoot, and it may go down. Let's go peak performance and hold it. That'd be muscular endurance, but I like stamina. You know, stamina in the bedroom, stamina in the gym, stamina, you know, like stamina reading a book, you know. But having peak performance with enough stamina, you are freaking unstoppable, and you are now a machine. And I love people that are having high standards of themselves because they're always having an endless pursuit of personal excellence. And it weeds out the bullshitters. It weeds out the fakers that we see online. We see so much of it right now. And I think it's our job to do exceptional work on ourselves. So then the consumer of content will realize he actually has proof in his performance based on the journey that he can share, that he shared. Because, I mean, in your life too, I mean, you know, you're a great storyteller because you've done work, you've had experiences. Some of the younger people haven't gone through that yet, so we can't talk about things yet. And the young Anakin Skywalker cannot talk in retrospect of like who he was as Darth Vader before he passed. He didn't know who he was until the end. My job is to check in with myself. You know what I'm saying? In different chapters of my life, let's check in. Let's journal a little bit. Let's actually use a pen and paper because we know the neurological connection. Let's do that. Let's look in each other's eyes when we speak. Let's not do this at the dinner table. But let's also give ourselves permission again to acknowledge our failures and trim the fat. Seriously, when possible.
So, you start off with this, the gift nickname. It sticks with you. It's got multiple meanings. It's layered. And then there's a really interesting period, sort of 2012 to I guess kind of 2014, 15, where the Dream Killer comes in. What did you think about having that name?
I loved it. I actually love that one more than the gift sometimes because that's like the, you know, they say Kobe Bryant, Black Mamba, Black Cat for Michael Deere Jordan. Is it Usain or is it Usain Bolt? Bolt, you know, like all these nicknames. You know, Dream Killer actually came about because of the fans. After Generation Iron was published, I was getting ready for the 2013 Mr. Olympia, and I had a feeling that that was my opportunity to close the door on Kyrie. Just close the door. Because when the movie would come out, and if I lose, then they're going to watch the movie even though it was based on 2012. You know what game you're playing, Phil, the way people see things on TV, they may not watch 2013. They may think that's a previous show. Now you're not champion anymore. Now that movie just makes you look like, you fell off. So I put that added pressure on myself, and I stepped up to the challenge, and I said, you know what? You're going to train harder. You're going to train smarter. You're going to do whatever it takes to, you know, beat the living shit out of them on stage. You know, you're going to, and then I was like, well, how do you do that? It's like, all right, well, sometimes you got to train angry. Take 2011, take 2012, merge them. 2013. I had one call out that year, right? Well, like I said, after Generation 9, a lot of people had opinions about me that I felt that was very interesting. Because it was a docudrama and it wasn't a documentary.
So take me through this experience of filming Generation 9. So for the people that aren't familiar, there's, from the past, originally Pumping Iron with Arnold, and then they actually did, was it Total Rebuild?
Yeah, so there's two words, right? There was two names, The Comeback and Total Rebuild,
yes,
right?
Yeah,
it's different, but
I think Pumping Iron's actually free, available on YouTube.
premium or whatever at the moment. Anyway, they do this, and then I guess you would say, the progeny of that production company decide to come back and show the new generation of bodybuilders. And the key rivalry in this is yourself and Kai Green. So take me through, before it happens, what are you told about it, what's the experience, and what happens after?
It was pretty much exactly what you just said. It's like, we already know Pump and Iron, we're pretty much doing this for the new era. Phil, you're the champion, your role is the champion. You're defending for the first time. That's pretty much it. We're gonna follow you around. They literally parked an RV outside of my house for a week. And they were in my house, at the gym, driving with me, doing everything. A lot of hours of content, obviously, that still hasn't been published. You know, maybe they'll come up with a director's cut later on of me screwing around in the gym, telling jokes, talking shit, you know, like different things. I loved it because I also looked at it as an opportunity to maybe step outside of bodybuilding and go into Hollywood, kind of like what Arnold did. Prematurely, you know, because Arnold did that film toward the end, where I'm at the beginning. But it's like, hey, if they pull you away, maybe you'd still be young enough to come back, right? So I go into the show knowing that I have to win. So I did that. And then obviously when it came out, it was good. I mean, I remember seeing the 2 movie premieres in LA and New York, and I was like, man, this is dope. This is exciting. And I'm looking good right now, so I know I'm gonna win. And I remember my coach, Honey Rambo, pulls me aside, he goes, this isn't good. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, no, it's a good film. But I think people are gonna look at you as the villain. The way they made it seem like you had everything. And I know your upbringing. You worked for everything, and they made it seem like you just, you know, you're driving the Bentley, you got the house, you got 2 houses, you got the, you know what I mean?
Meanwhile, Kai's living in this, like, one
Which is
bedroom.
complete bullshit. Like, okay, you have this house, but like, I can't even speak on another man's income, but like, you just do, you know, I'm a very logical person. I'm like, the fans, all they have to do is say, well, this guy won the Arnold Classic a couple times, man. Like, this guy's not broke. He's got a Weeder contract. He's got a Muscle Man's contract. You think I know New York prices are expensive, but come on, like, you know what I mean? So
300 square foot apartment.
right. I'm like, well, maybe that's just, he keeps that as a studio and maybe has another place, which I think we both know that was probably the case. But oh, Phil, you have to realize they didn't tell you that this is a docudrama. All right. So now, just like I said, when it came out, they had a viewing after the Olympia, after I just won my 3rd title. Could you imagine? I go in there and people are actually like talking shit. So I stand up, you know, with the microphone in my hand. I go, hey, how many of you guys liked it? And some people were like, yeah. And they're like, I was like, you guys thought I was an asshole? People were like, I'm like, whoa, like, let's. But for me, I was at that point. I was like, why? Huh? And then I just accepted it. I was like, you know what? Okay. I can't, you know, I'm not here to change people's opinions of me, man. Like, you know, that takes so much time, energy. You know, that's when social media really started formulating and stuff, going into 2014. I'm like, just let your proof be how you win, bro. They just win. But now you got to train really freaking angry. And if they want that motherfucker, I'm going to give it to them. You want a villain? I'll give you a villain. Because I can take it. Every hero became a villain in someone's eyes. You know, Hulk Hogan, The Rock, like they all became the heel at some point. But it's the good. But I was like, yeah. You know what it was? Remember the movie where it was Batman Begins or whatever, and he became like Dark Knight, whatever. And what did he say? When it was like at the end of the movie, and it was like after Harvey Dent got messed up, and they said, why did he make it look like it was him? And Commissioner Gordon tells the kid, because he can take it. I was like, Phil, you're the only dude that can take it. All these guys can't take it. They're all insecure. They're all like, if the lights were shining on them and them being misunderstood and having everyone's opinions be spread on them, they couldn't handle it. Only the best, Phil. Only the best can handle it. Only the best can handle the scrutiny. You're going to be the greatest. Because now they're looking at you with a harsher lens. It is not 10 times, 25 times, 50 times. It's 250 times magnification. Only problem is that sucks is that now I'm being judged that way at 250 times magnification.
It's like being back in school with the teachers having a higher...
So now I'm like, okay, that's the shitty part, but just embrace it. Just use it. So I created the shirts. I made the merch, made a bunch of money off of it, and played that part. And that was like my alter ego. It's like, so you guys want the dream killer now? And that's when I started being able to, in my opinion, make people afraid. And I loved it because I see you smiling too. You know, you're like, yeah, because we all have a dark side. And it was about me having that controlled aggression in the gym and even with fans. I mean, I was never rude with fans, you know what I'm saying? Like, I meet with them. I did the Make-A-Wish Foundation stuff. I did the autism awareness events and all those things. Now, that may be overshadowed because of someone's opinion about Generation 9. But again, Phil, you have to learn that the people who you aspire to be have the same thing, but 10 times worse. A politician has it a million times worse, right? An actor has it worse. I know actors that have played some great films, and people see them on the street and curse them out
because they were a baddie.
right? And imagine, and so I'm like laughing. I'm like, these guys don't have that common sense. But I'm like, but that means that great of an actor. So just use it to your advantage, man. And the problem is like how I can't lie, like.
With Google Workspace, you can get any job done on your phone. From giving feedback, to attending meetings, to signing contracts. That's working from anywhere, made easy with Google Workspace.
And like sometimes being the dream killer is so fascinating that it's hard to push them away, tuck them away. So then, you know, like my trainer said, like in an interview a year ago, talking about like Phil, he's a John Wick bodybuilder. I'm like,
Don't kill his dog.
don't kill his dog. Don't talk shit about his wife or something like that. It's like, you know.
Talk to me about how you reflect on your relationship with Kai Green, because people call it the greatest rivalry in bodybuilding, and it's then the stakes are raised with Generation Iron. It's the inception of social media.
Right.
Talk to me about that relationship with Kai Green.
I think it is the greatest rivalry. I think it's bigger than Jay and Ronnie's, just because they were friends. We weren't. And I think we wanted to be friends, Kai and I. But I feel like because of us both wanting something so freaking bad, and during the social media era, one camp, the other camp, they're talking so much, and we can see the chatter, that it kind of made it look like, so you don't like me, Chris? Okay, it's like high school, you know what I mean? Like, you talking shit, and then all you do is look at me weird, and I'm like, all right, what's up? So I know that Kai had to play psychological warfare because this is bodybuilding. It's not MMA. It's not boxing. You know, like it's not even basketball or football, right? It's just a person lifting weights and dieting and doing heavy amounts of cardio and posing. That it's hard to impose your will on someone physically. So you got to figure out how he can beat me. So for him to start a fight, you know, like in 2014, flipping the hair and all this other stuff, I don't blame him. People used to get mad at me for like accepting it. Like in my friend circle, they're like, man, like you're just cool with this. But I said, I expected it. They're like, why'd you expect this? I said, listen, it all started at the damn press conference. But I knew he was going to do something. I didn't know what I was going to respond by saying the 3 facts and all this other stuff.
He'd signed his name.
Oh yeah.
As Mr. Olympia.
Yeah, he started doing
on your over your face or something.
Yeah. So we have an Olympia poster that comes out every year. So when we get our Olympia credentials, you know, our per diem, all that good stuff, we have to sign a bunch of merchandise. One of it is like a big ass poster that we give out all the VIP holders. So, you know, of course, you know, I'm like it's front and center, so people are gonna sign like maybe the leg or this and that. This fool like on the face. I'm like, oh, it's like that. And he wrote Mr. Olympia. I'm like, okay. How many times did he do it? For like a whole row of them. I'm like, oh, he's trying to send a message. So. You know, basketball mentality comes out right now. It's like, oh, I love it. The disrespect. I love it. Like now I get to make this more intentional. And he has no idea what I look like. He's then going to try to probably say something at this press conference. Why? Because that's what I would do. know thyself, know your opponent, know how to respond versus react. See, when you don't play through these things, and when you only get fixated on how much food and water do I drink, and yes, I have to do this mundane stuff, you need to work on the mind of figuring out all the different permutations that can exist, all the different scenarios that can happen. That way, you know how to handle yourself and anything that comes towards you. So I gave him what he needed at the press conference, and he had nothing to say after that. And that's when I knew the only thing left was for him to try to do something physical. And I handled it well, and unfortunately, that was like the end of that prejudging.
Yeah, they split you apart, right?
Yeah.
They put Dennis Wolf in between you, and
Yeah,
no one's walking through him.
I mean, in a way, it was effed up because I'm like, we're not performing now, and it was a big adrenaline dump as well for he and I both. I know he probably had it because I felt it.
So talk to me. You're on stage. You've worked toward this thing for ages. Generation Iron is out.
Yeah, it's already out for the second year.
Yeah. So you've got the rivalry is not only private, it's public.
Yep.
You've had him signing his name on your face, literally, on posters. You've had him talking shit at the press conference.
Yep.
And then you get on stage and he's got this like predator ponytail thing that he whips and hits you with, and then
has something to say.
and then you sort of jostle against each other, and then there's this legendary photo of you finally turning and looking, and it's you guys face to face on the Olympic stage. What's that emotional dump like with all of this pressure and all of this preparation coming up?
It felt like high school when everybody's like fight, and then you're basically getting into it, and then there was the fans' energy that I felt that got calm, because all you could hear is if you were there, you would be able to hear Steve Weinberger's voice get elevated, and they turned the music up louder because they wanted. I guess they were trying to drown out the crowd noise, like it was
cheering it on.
Because they kind of were. And then I realized two big ass dudes oiled up in posing trunks was supposed to fight. Nah.
You're not paying enough for this.
Nah, exactly. Someone's getting the draws pulled out here. Hey, it ain't happening. That's not the fight that I signed up for. So let's go ahead and calm this shit down and get back to work.
That is good idea.
But you're right. So I realized right then and there, the fans really messed this up, because the fans were egging us on for two years now. Because you got to think, 2012, there was a moment where Kai and I are posing. You know, you do the back shots, and I used to always kind of like, that was in 2013. So 2012, we're doing a back shot. And I look back, no, I look like this, and I'm kind of like looking at the glutes, because it's kind of like letting the judges know he ain't got what I got. So I was like, come on, man.
Oh, you slapped him on the ass?
I kind of like touch his lower back or something like that.
You just slapped him on the ass.
And then, so then there's a picture of him like looking at him. He was going to punch me.
Yes.
So no one remembers this, right? But you know what it did? That was the no flinch with Matt Barnes versus Kobe. So I was like, yes, I got him.
Yep.
Now I'm in his head. He wants to, like, you know, all right. 2013 Arnold Classic. Madrid. That's when we're doing this. And he's just pissed. And I'm like, got him.
We'll get back to talking to Phil in 1 minute, but first I need to tell you about Factor. I get asked all the time about how to build and maintain muscle, and the most important thing, the first thing you need to do, is ensure you are getting 1 gram per kilo of body weight in protein every single day. But as you know, if you've ever tried to cook anything ever consistently or stick to your macros, finding whole food, healthy meals you can have conveniently every single day is difficult. This is where Factor comes in. Their fresh, never frozen meals are designed by registered dietitians and arrive ready to heat and eat in minutes. It requires zero prep. So if you're someone that says, oh, I'd love to hit my protein numbers, but I never have time to cook, prep takes so long and I hate doing it, this is the solution for you. So if you want to make an improvement to your diet, this August you can get Factor and start eating better without the hassle. Head to the link in the description below or go to factormeals.com/MW50 and use the code MW50 for 50% off your first order at checkout. That's factormeals.com/MW50 and MW50 at checkout. How do you think, so it seems like your ability to deal with discomfort, both psychological, physical, it's balanced. I think discomfort in the time, but it doesn't seem to echo. You don't seem to ruminate beyond what you need to learn the lessons.
Right.
What do you know about how Kai felt during this rivalry?
Well, he had to feel. I mean, of course, he's going to feel robbed, right? Because he's going to think, well, I look good too. I put in so much effort. I've gone through so many levels of adversity. I deserve this, and I'm only one person away. One person away, and then once I got him out of my way, I can have everything I've ever wanted. I get to now, every time I see Phil Heath, I see success. I see what life has presented him, what he's been able to experience. And I can't have the same thing without going through him. I got to go through him. So there's a level of empathy I have even now. Like, I realize that.
Have you ever spoken to him?
Yeah, you know, what's very interesting is that we've had a few conversations. Kai Green gets credit for me because he was the first athlete in the IFBB to call me after I lost in 2018. And he was the only one. He was the only one that picked up the phone. And we talked at length. And that made me feel, I mean,
It's easier than ever to make a custom video ad, reach new customers, and grow your business. With YouTube Ads, AI-powered solutions. Get started today with YouTube Ads.
it wasn't like emotional, like I'm gonna cry. It was more like the person who knows me the most is the one that I battled against the most, right? And he basically gave me some much needed words of like, Phil, they didn't beat Phil that I know. They beat an injured one. You're still the best ever. And to hear that, you know, it made me feel good because, well, in my opinion, he was right. And he would know that because he knew what he was going against, and he knows that, man, if imagine the amount of stress Phil had to go through, and I need to reach out to him and let him know like everything's cool, man.
Well,
You're gonna be okay. Like, and he was, mind you, 2018. I mean, he was already 4 years removed, or 3 years removed, because he did Arnold, Australia, I believe, 2015. So he already started that transition away. And I had yet to decide if that was what I wanted to do. So he was giving me an option on that phone call of saying, Phil, now you're at this point where you don't have to prove yourself to anyone. The judges can do whatever the hell they want. You've solidified yourself. Like, I respect you. And I thought, damn, like, thank you. And, you know, since then, I mean, we've always had that, you know, casual. I mean, now, granted, during the conversation, there was still F you, Phil, and this, that, and the other, you know, just because we can't, it's like, we can't be like Hallmark cards and roses and shit. We still gotta be like, I respect you. Fuck you, man. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm cool with it. I saw Kai last year at the Gymshark event here in California, and we both were just like, there's just that vibe. And we both know that it's cool. It's cool to be like, you know what I'm saying? Fuck you, Phil Heath. And I said, fuck you, Kai. You know what I mean? Like, it's all, and you know what's funny?
That's
like,
sweet.
Yeah, it's like a term of endearment. And fans, though, like when they see us in the room, like everyone would get quiet.
Well, they think there's still
They think it's
genuine
still-
animosity.
And there isn't. There's more respect than anything because that's what it should be. But it always was. It's just that when you're battling, we respected the game. I don't think people have seen. I mean, outside of a Jay and Ronnie situation, two highly competitive people that were boisterous about what they wanted. We were extremely boisterous. And if that meant that we ruffled the feathers of the opposite team, we didn't give a shit. We just didn't. We couldn't. Because we needed their support. We needed those fans sometimes to remind us, like, yeah, man, like, okay, we got this. I mean, I would see people arguing at the Olympia Expo over who's going to win and this and that. Kai's fans coming up talking trash, and I'm like, we're posing in the audience, and people would, you know, say stuff, and I'm like, what happened to your boy? You know, and then the fans were like, ooh, cool, and it was like it was like some WWE stuff.
Right.
And as much as some fans want to make it seem like, for me, I was being like extremely like negative or whatever, I was playing along just like them. Because at the same time, I mean, we're providing sports entertainment, and if I can have a little fun with the troll online, I'm going to do it. You know, like and because I should have fun. I should have fun with this. This is great. Like, it's really cool that I can have certain types of powers that I can literally transform my physique into something that no one could ever imagine.
Well, think about it this way as well, that it's not just the enjoyment of being the sportsman, but it's the enjoyment of being a personality as well, of developing a brand. And if the brand for a short amount of time is to be the villain, like no one looked back. Floyd Mayweather, like played for a very long time. They did he fought on Cinco de Mayo, called it Cinco de Mayweather.
Yeah.
And came out with the
sombrero.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just a professional troll before the word troll existed.
That's right.
Right?
Do it.
And now looking back, people, I mean, in some of his most recent fights, maybe he's padded his record a little bit. But I think that playing that heel and doing that is, I don't know, if you have the psychology to be able to absorb it and stay equanimous, I think that makes for a much more exciting, the greatest rivalry in bodybuilding, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't have existed had you not have had the rivalry, right? It wasn't because of the bodies, maybe it was in some regards, but it was because of the personalities.
Yeah.
That was what made it happen.
And it drove competitiveness.
How much better do you think you became because of Kai Green?
Oh, extremely. I mean, every year it was like, you get to see him guest pose on the circuit, and you're like, oh shit.
Did you respect his physique?
Oh, of course. I respected it all the time. The problem is that just because I respect it and I have an opinion of it, like, parts of me was like, gosh, all he had to do was be who he was when he did those Arnold Classics and the 2012 Olympia, and he might have got me. Maybe
What's the difference?
Because he got bigger and he was trying to manage too much size. Kai Green is probably, if not the most dense bodybuilder we have ever seen. That includes Coleman, like density-wise, because you got to think he was shorter than Coleman, weighed nearly as much, and it was like deep cuts, like deep, like very, like slabs of beef, like when he does it, pulling the elbows back, you see the Christmas tree, thick, striated lats. Just very deep. Now, he lacked the chest size and the depth with that and the shoulders, so that's why Coleman would get the edge. But, people think of Dorian Yates like being very dense. If we could see those two up on stage together, I'm telling you right now, Kai Green, like, because of the quads, because of the side of the hamstring, the hanging of them, forget it. It was just slabs of beef, dude. Like, this is a guy, you've seen him walk around off season, and every 3X pants that he's wearing looks like they're leggings. I mean, it just is amazing, and he was able to keep this condition throughout the entire bodybuilding season. So I would always look at him and say, well, you're not focusing on one major thing, and that is the peak. And bodybuilding is about the peaking. You can run the 100 meters in the semifinals and break the world record, but would you rather do it in an Olympic final? I'd rather do it in an Olympic final. It's more significant then, and it takes more discipline. It takes more strategy. So that's where I looked at bodybuilding. It's like, everything is a strategy. Everything is a process leading up to 2 days. That's it. All I got to do is be ready for 2 days. And that, I was able to do that obviously countless times. But yeah, did he raise my game level up? Absolutely. And I benefit from it.
Give me your thoughts on Chris Bumstead.
Most popular, no rival. Really good bodybuilder. I saw him when he was coming up at 19, 20 years old. Guys over at Team Muscle Tech used to tell me about him because, Muscle Tech is a Canadian company pretty much. And they were saying, oh, this guy's coming up. And I said, yeah. And they're like, what, you don't think? And I go, I'm going to treat him just like they treated me. Meaning, I see big things. And he's done those things. And like I shared with him after his Olympia win, I said, now it's just you. You solidify yourself in this category where it's just you. You're running by yourself now. You have no equal. And what do? They raise the weight limit up for everybody else. But now, he has to realize that what I was saying was true. Because the only